So here's the thing to think about or to remember. I've remembered this all week as I watched the Super Bowl. I used to play football, I like that, but I can't go there anymore. And as I was avoiding the news, as I was traveling from college to college and then watching the news, here's this phrase that just ended in my head all week. There's a poet who was writing in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, a guy by the name of William Carlos Williams. He was a baby doctor, a pediatrician, but a magnificent poet too. So I was thinking about that thing I said a minute ago. William Carlos Williams says this line, a couple of lines of a poem. Listen to this. It is difficult to get the news from poems. Yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. I'm going to give you that one again in a minute. I'm going to kind of apologize for the... He assumes that we're all men there for a minute. I want to change that and say, Dr. Williams, can we fix that? But I can't change his words. I don't want to change his words, but I will point that out. But listen to this again. It is difficult to get the news from poems. Yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. So the question is, so what is found there? Maybe some of those things that I was talking about earlier. Quiet, precision, attention, patience. I don't know. Here's another little poem about something flying. This is not the monarchs, this is about bees. Been reading about the bees lately? Yeah. What have you read about the bees? Right? I read in the New York Times today the estimated loss of bumblebee population globally is 60% in the last 50 years. Where'd it go? Peril sonnet. Where do you suppose they've gone, the bees, now that you don't see them anymore? Four-winged among flowers, sparks in the clover, even at nightfall. Are they fanning? Have they gone another place? Blue with pollen, stuck to their bristles, waiting beyond us. Spring dwindle is what we call it. Collapsing neonicotinoids, high level in pneumatic corn exhausts, loss of habitat or disappearing disease in the way of our kind, so to speak. What do you think they would call it? Language older than our ears, were they saying it all along, even at daybreak? This one's birds. I got this idea for just little things that fly and that are going away. This is a poem called Checkpoint. I'll tell you a quick thing about this. This one starts with a line that is not my line. It's the first two lines of the Emily Dickinson poem. Maybe the scariest poet who ever lived. I love me some Emily Dickinson. So much so that I got on an airplane 3 years ago, flew to New York City where the Morgan Library was having a big Emily Dickinson display. Anybody go to that? Anybody hear of that? Yeah, how about that? So it's a little room, and you walk in, and there are Emily Dickinson's manuscripts, some of her poems, original manuscripts. She would order special paper with little lines on it. She had a favorite pen and a favorite pencil, and a really weird handwriting. And there are some of them. I wanted to steal them, run out the door and down the street. She would take 6 or 8 or 10 of them and fold them and wrap them and bind them with pink ribbon. Those were her books. There in the Morgan Library was Emily Dickinson's high school yearbook. Imagine that. There in the library, my favorite thing on the wall, a little case about this big with an airtight door and a lock, was this long rolled coil of Emily Dickinson's hair. Emily Dickinson's bright red hair. I didn't know she had bright red hair. You don't need to know any of this in the poem. I'm just geeking out for a minute, sorry. The line, her 2 lines are, these are the days when birds come back. She was writing about her yard in her father's house. Someone writing about the birds in my house, or in my yard. I live in Ohio under a flyway, which is like a migratory superhighway. Sometimes, a couple of times a year, there are gazillions of birds flying around. Or there used to be. So here's another number. I just read this. In the last 35 years in the North American, just the North American continent, we have seen a decrease of birds by 2.9 billion fewer birds in 35 years. Have you noticed fewer birds? You think, well, that's kind of weird. Where are they? Do the math. Here's another one. In the same amount of time, just a little more than that, 42 years, globally, the population of the human being has increased by 3 billion. It starts making me crazy when I do math like that. I don't know what to do about stuff like that. And I tend not to say stuff like this in public. I tend to like to write nice quiet poems and not talk about this stuff. But then I think, what the hell am I doing? If all I'm going to do is write a pretty poem that says, well, look at the tree. See the birds? There's a monarch butterfly. And if that's all I do, maybe that's valuable, and maybe it's important to just put a beautiful thing in the world and insist that it has value. But sometimes I do that and I think, if that's all I'm doing, I'm just making wallpaper. And sometimes you have to go a little farther and say a thing like I'm trying to do. I don't know how to do this. How to write about alarm. Do you know what I'm talking about? You do, I know you do. So this poem begins about the birds, and it turns into something else. As I was working on this poem, also reading online a couple of sites online that are being posted to assist undocumented immigrants as people come to this country or try to come to this country and don't have papers. If they get arrested, these sites are to help them prepare for interrogation. What kinds of questions are you likely going to be asked by Homeland Security or ICE or immigration to trip you up? So another kind of migration. We migrate too. We move around the way birds do. So this turns into a poem about immigration, not just migration. You'll hear the language just kind of slip. It sounds a little confusing. checkpoint. These are the days when birds come back. These are the days, the birds. These days, these birds. These days are these birds. Let us see these days, these papers. When are these birds? And where are your papers? Where are you going? Come back. Answer me where you were going. Behind the barn, the flame tree, our fire, our wings. These birds behind the trees, the bursting winds, the birds. These days come back. They do not. There, what color is your ruby throat? Your toothbrush? Yellow-breasted warbler, green flame, blue jay, marsh thrush among the light, the lush, low, timid leaf, she said, by the river. What fire is your Nova, is your wife's hairbrush? Take off your shoes, take your hands off. Stop right there. So many coming over as so many millions fewer wings. These papers of fragile bones vanished. They are not. Where are you going? I said, come back. I think I'll read a couple of brand new poems. Yeah, I guess I will. This one's about a glacier. A subject that doesn't kind of leap off the page and say, here's a poem. But there is, I wrote this poem, I've been working on this poem for 4 or 5 months. Just a little one, but I can't get the phrasing right. And then about a week ago, I read the news a lot. I read the New York Times, I read a lot of stuff. There was a new article about a place in Antarctica called the Doomsday Glacier. Did you read this? Did you see this in the news just in the last few days? It's one of the great big glaciers in Antarctica called the Doomsday Glacier. And the scientists, the ecologists, finally were able to measure the water temperature, or take the water temperature underneath the glacier, and had estimated what they thought the temperature would be, and the temperature is so much warmer than they had thought. This is called the telling. Down from such heights and up from depths beyond measure, the old ice, slowly, now quicker than the stones can hold it, knows its path, like the one note of a bird flown beyond us in ages since we've forgotten. The wind holds us in its heavy sleeves. So sorry, now, at the pace of our elders' tongues, down the valley it is going. The clocks have stopped. It is happy to be finished. Almost there, singing the song no one heard the last time, either, when the rains began. Here's another brand new one. You can't see this, but I'll show you. This one's so new. I don't know if you can see. I was working on it on the airplane. See, there's some blue ink and some black ink. And you're just trying to get it right? So I have to tell you a little story, again, before I can read this one to you. There's a place in Oklahoma called Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Heard of that one? One of the really big military bases in America, out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. It was begun in the late 1860s, right after the end of the Civil War. We started Fort Sill, and it's where many of the cavalry soldiers went. There wasn't even an Oklahoma as a state at this time, but we had a great big base there, and it was where we sent the cavalry who were going to fight and who fought what we called at the time the Indian Wars. So good to know we did that. So 1890, we marched 400 indigenous people, Native Americans, hundreds of miles from different places to Fort Sill and kept them behind ferocious barbed wire on the dirt with very little water, sleeping under some tents for years. It's where Crazy Horse was. Fort Sill. Children, too. Good to know. So 1942, 1943, we take nearly 800 Japanese American people, American citizens. Not that that matters, but in this case, American citizens, but they were from Japan. And we put them in Fort Sill behind those same slashing barbed wires on the dirt ground with very little water for years. Good to know we did that. You know where I'm going with this, right? So 2019, we took 1,500 children away from their parents to Fort Sill. Most of them aren't there now. They were on the dirt. No money for books, very little money for medicine. Behind barbed wire, taken from their parents. You know, and I think, well, whose children are they? We did that. We keep doing that. I don't know what to do about any of this. I write poems and I think, well, what in the world good does that do? And then I think, okay, if I don't write poems, I know what good that will do. So in this poem, I just tried to ask that question, you know, whose children are they? And there are just two people in this poem, lovers. I was trying to imagine the most safe place. Kind of like an opposite of being in detention behind barbed wire. So there are two sweeties and they're up in their bedroom on the second floor or the third floor. In that, you know, that wonderful private place of sweeties. Nothing touches you, right? What if it does? It's a poem called Hold Hands. We were in the trees, white curtains open, your shoulders in my hands, then your knees drew upward. Rain like petals there, rain like breeze. Now the birds were in the trees, 2 stories up, our window, where blowing leaves were leveled with our sheets. We were in the street, we were holding hands as hands were holding us. What hands there were where we were, in trees. The children there as songbirds were. The hands where we were in the trees were holding us there, where we were, in the street. Please the rain, to please the petals in the breeze like rain. Please to draw your hair along my hands. Your hands are holding us. Lines along the window lane are holding us in songs, as now the songs, the sirens among the trees, lines along the window lane, your hair in feathers where the children are, whose curtains singing, whose hands are holding us, who cry like birds. Hold hands, the birds are in the trees, the birds are children there in cages singing in the trees. This will be my last poem. Oh, that sounded way more terminal than I meant. I hope there are more, but for now, this will be the last poem. And I'm reading this one again because one of Sandy's students asked me to read this one. And when I'm finished, I'll stick here for a minute in case we have any questions and answers, okay? This is called Snow Figure. A humble night, hush after hush. Are you listening? That's what the snow says, crossing the ice. And the Blue Creek out back, where my love and I came early one morning to remember nothing but blue, and the muffled joy of a far night's nothingness. The Blue Creek, teasing, wild beneath its ice, says, hush. Snow whiffs around on its glassing surface. Why did we wish so hard to walk where it deepens? Why did we want to hold hands here? My love and I came to learn how to love the little that skates on the surface, the nothing that flies fast and fatal beneath. I have put in a poem what has fallen from my life and what I would change. Are you here? We left a slender pathway of tracks. It led nowhere, if not to our bodies, and filled in our emptiness. What I want most to say is what I never told her. Don't trust me. Trust me. How could I lie? A figure of speech is where desire forces a crisis, a crossing, one world and its weather suddenly brilliant with meaning. My love and I came out early one morning to forget the humble one night when the snow fell over us, and we filled each other's body with our own. So the old snow burns crystal in the sun. So the ice slipping the creek's edges keeps teasing to be tried. Trust me, it brags. Black, thrilling, or empty. Why do we wish so hard to listen to what isn't here? Here, the snow says, as if in response, my love was here. So that's that.